What is going on, Spanko squad, and welcome back to the channel. This year marks the 20th anniversary of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and to celebrate, we're spending an entire month revisiting the decks of the GX era, all while trying to make them as competitive as possible. Now let's be real, some of these decks are gonna put up a fight, and some might not. But we're here to push them to their limit. Whether it's heroes, cyber dragons, crystal beasts, or even the really obscure stuff, we're giving them all a shot. And if you want access to every deck profile I'll be showing this month, plus exclusive access to 4 deck lists that will not be shown here on YouTube, check out the Metafy GX month package. For just $10, you'll have access to this package for life. And that includes any updates and any changes made to these deck lists. It's the best way to keep up to date with all your favorite decks while also supporting the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and with that, let's get into GX month. Welcome to the first episode of GX Month, where we're showcasing off the deck of none other than Jaden Yuki, the man, the myth, the legend, the most popular archetype and my personal favorite archetype from the GX era. And this deck has evolved to the point where it's more powerful than it's ever been. And that's because there have been so many new cards released for this archetype that make it absolutely insane. With that said, guys, I want to show you guys the deck list and why this deck is so powerful, how it has evolved, and why it can compete in today's meta. Let's go. So guys, I'm really excited to be kicking off GX week here with our very first deck profile, none other than Hero, to represent my favorite deck and the most iconic deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Now, Hero has evolved recently with the brand new release of Supreme Darkness. Evil Hero cards are absolutely insane. They add so many different layers of disruption to this deck, and so for that I want to be showing it off to you guys today. So with that said, I'm going to be breaking down each package and explaining them a little bit in more depth. Starting off with our Evil Hero package, we are playing the one Dead End Prison. Now, Dead End Prison has a really cool effect where essentially you can send a hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a foolish burial, and then it has another effect where if you fusion summon a hero monster this turn, this card can be used as a substitute for the material mentioned by the card. So that's really important because it gets you into a lot of different cards in your extra deck. So very important for Dead End Prison here. We have one Infernal Rider. Infernal Rider is really cool because it's an extra name for you. On top of that, it also gets you to Super Polymerization, which is going to give you an additional layer of disruption, which is very, very nice with Infernal Rider, right? And I do want to mention, actually, just before we continue, we are playing 60 cards in here today. Now, this is a build that I actually think is probably one of the best builds in today's format, the best way to play the deck. And that's because there are cards like Infernal Rider, which are great in the deck. However, this card is a card you don't necessarily want to draw. So for that reason, we are playing 60 because there's a lot of powerful cards just like this one that you don't necessarily want to draw, but they do so many powerful things for you. And I'll explain that when we get into the deck profile a little bit deeper. We are playing one Sinister Necrom. Sinister Necrom is a really cool card as well. Essentially, you banish it from your graveyard to special summon an evil hero monster from your hand or deck, which is really, really nice. It's an extender for you. Then we are playing 3 Adusted Gold. Now, you guys are going to have to forgive me. I only have 1 copy. I am proxying the other 2. Unfortunately, this card is just impossible to find where I live. I live in Canada, guys, so I can't just go on TCG Player, unfortunately. And I've checked like 6 different card stores. Not a single one has Adusted Gold. I've asked my friends, I've asked people I know, not a single person has it. So I have the one, unfortunately, but you have to be playing 3, guys. 3 is the best way to play this card. This card is absolutely insane. It's literally a Irada. You can discard this card, add a Dark Fusion, or a card that specifically lists Dark Fusion in its text from your deck to your hand. So this card essentially Irodas, quote unquote, into your Evil Hero cards because it's going to get cards that mention Dark Fusion. So not just Dark Fusion, it gets cards that mention Dark Fusion. And this is important. I'm going to showcase a combo at the end of the video where this card is just a 1-card combo essentially. Then we are playing 3 Evil Assault, one of the best consistency cards this deck has ever received. Evil Assault is crazy. So you discard a card, take a level 4 lower evil hero monster from your deck, either add it to your hand or special summon it. So this is just an E-Telly for you, which is absolutely insane. This card is searchable as well because it does mention Dark Fusion from its text, so you can go Adusted Gold into Evil Assault, which is crazy. Then we are playing the 1 Dark Contact. This is also a new card from Suda. Dark Contact is absolutely insane. It has 2 effects. There's only 1 effect that you really ever use, and that's Fusion Summon a Fusion monster from your extra deck that must be special summoned with Dark Fusion by shuffling materials from your field, graveyard, or banishment into your deck. So it shuffle cards back into your deck, which is really nice, and it acts as a secondary Dark Fusion. We are playing, of course, the 1 OG Dark Fusion, very, very powerful card. And then 1 Dark Supremacy, another searchable card that's very, very good. It's a negate for you. It's one of Hero's very few and very minimal negates. It's also searchable because it does mention Dark Fusion in its text, which is really nice. However, in your 1-card combos, you don't usually search yourself with Adusted Gold. There is another way to get it to your Dark Supremacy, so that's why we're just playing the 1-up. And again, you guys can see we're playing a lot of onas that we don't necessarily want to draw. Although drawing them is not the worst thing in the world, it's not like gonna help you actually combo. It kind of just is there for you, and unless you draw other pieces with it, it's not great, and that's why we're playing 60. Now let's move on to the elemental hero package. We are playing 3 Stratos, still the best normal summon in your deck, so we are playing 3 elemental hero Stratos. We all know what this does. You normal summon it, you add a hero monster from your deck to your hand. We are playing 1 Shadow Mist. 1 Shadow Mist is all you're gonna need nowadays. This card, a lot of the time you're gonna be playing it just so you're able to dump it from your deck to your graveyard so you can search a hero monster. And then we are playing 1 elemental hero Neos. Now Neos is really cool, one because it's signed by Jaden Yuki's voice actor, fanboy Spanko over here, but Neos of course is very important because it gets into your Neos Lord, it gets into your Shining Neos Wingman. This card is very important to play. Then we are playing a Vision Hero package as well, so 3 Vision Hero Ferris. Ferris is one of the most important cards in this deck. Vision Hero Ferris in tandem with cards like Shadow Mist or Malicious is absolutely insane. So 3 Ferris over here. We are playing 2 Vion and 1 Increase. We only ever need the 1 Increase now. We're playing 60 cards. You do not need to play 2 Increase. The odds of you drawing the 1 Increase are so minimal that it makes a lot of sense to only play the 1 Increase. So Vision Hero Increase, very important to play, but we're only playing it as a 1 of now. Now lastly, we are playing one more package, and that is the Destiny Hero package. Of course, Destiny Hero Malicious is the best Destiny Hero card. This card is absolutely insane, not only because it's signed by Aster Phoenix's voice actor, which very proud of this signature, very cool signature, but on top of that, Mali is recyclable because you can actually shuffle it back with your Dark Contact over here, and then you essentially get to Mali 4 times, but you actually get to do it 5 times because you have Denier here as well. Denier is a very cool card. It essentially acts as another Malicious, which is really nice. So Denier plus 3 Mali plus Dark Contact. There's so many different ways to keep recycling this and getting more and more bodies onto your side of the field. So that is it for all the different packages in terms of the monsters. I know for the evil heroes I included these, but that is it for all the different packages. One card that I will mention is Destiny Hero Plasma. I am not actually currently playing Destiny Hero Plasma in my main deck. I would consider siding it, but you guys are going to see with the rest of this deck profile, it's very tight and it was very difficult to get Plasma into here without sacrificing some consistency. Now Plasma is an absolutely insane card, don't get me wrong, but the issue that I found with it is that a lot of decks can play from their graveyard nowadays, and Plasma being a skill drain on field is just not enough to cut it sometimes. So for that reason, I chose not to play Plasma in the main deck. However, there's no wrong way. Honestly, if you do play Plasma in the main deck, it could be very good for you still. So you guys can consider that as an option, but I really like this package. It's nice and condensed, but it's still very, very powerful. Moving on, guys, we are playing a lot of consistency for this deck, and that's one thing that Hero does very well, is just its ability to have so many different consistency pieces. So we are playing 3 A Hero Lives. A Hero Lives, of course, is one of the most important cards. It's a starter for you. It gets you to Stratos. It gets you to Shadow Mist if you already have a Stratos, which means you can get to Mass Change. So Hero Lives does so many different things for you. Special summons level 4 when you control no monsters. Absolutely insane. Then we are playing 3 Fusion Destiny. Fusion Destiny is also a 1-card starter. Now, however, unlike the other starters like Hero Lives or Stratos or Dusted Gold, Fusion Destiny does kind of lock you a little bit, which is still fine because you can still make some really powerful boards with Fusion Destiny, but it is another 1-card starter for you if all else fails. Or if you do start playing with your Stratos and your other cards and your opponent has 2-3 hand traps, you can always use Fusion Destiny as a failsafe to get back into the game, right? Whether it's dumping your Malicious and then dumping something else to make your DPE, or it's just kind of getting more bodies in your graveyard. This card does so much for you. So whether you're doing it as a 1-card starter or you're doing it to push once your opponent has a bunch of hand traps, Fusion Destiny very important. Then we are playing 1 Polymerization, of course, 1 Miracle Fusion, 1 Super Polymerization, 1 Mass Change, and 1 Favorite Contact. Now these are all your fusion cards essentially for the deck. I mean, Hero Lives is not a fusion card, but these are all your fusion cards over here. These cards are absolutely insane. Super Polymerization is now searchable off of your Infernal Rider that I talked about earlier, so we do want to be playing 1 Super Polymerization. It does give you an extra layer of disruption, which is very nice. Miracle Fusion and Polymerization, of course, are searchable, and not only are they searchable, but they're also cards that you can recycle with your Wonder Driver, of course, because this is going to be able to get these 2 back from your graveyard, set them up again so you can use them multiple times, right? And you're able to set it up on your opponent's turn as well, which means you're able to get them back. And then we're only playing with 1 Mass Change. Mass Change is really good, but there's no reason to play 3 anymore. Dark Claw is not as good in today's format as it used to be, so no reason to max out on this to try to turbo a Dark Claw. Favorite Contact, of course, is a card that you're always going to want to be ending on so you can summon your Shining Neo Swingman. Now, actually, one thing thing I want to mention with favorite contact that has actually made this deck insanely better with the evil hero cards is you're a lot of the time going to be ending on a card like Darkest Night, or you're going to be ending on this. Typically you don't end on this, but a lot of time you're going to actually end on extra attributes here, which is really nice. It's not just light or dark. So Shining Neo Swingman, that's always usually going to be light and dark because you're going to have this with your DPE. You're typically going to have another attribute, so it's at least going to pop 3, and also could be potentially more depending on what your opponent has. So that actually got a little bit buffed with the evil hero stuff as well, which is really cool. So the one favorite contact, of course, is very important. Then for consistency, again, we're just playing 1 reinforcements of the army, searches anything in your deck. Basically, you're all playing warriors, and then 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is the card that I was going to take out for Plasma, actually, fun fact, but I chose to play this because it is a card that plays around Droll. Whether you go Foolish Burial, send your Malicious, and then you can play through that way. Foolish Burial is also another piece like Fusion Destiny, where if your opponent has a bunch of hand traps, this is just kind of pushes for more, right? Or on top of that, if you just start with Foolish Burial, your opponent might be forced to use Ash Blossom on it, and if they do use your Ash Blossom on it, then you're like, okay, cool, activate a Hero Lives, or normal summon Stratos, and now they've used their hand trap essentially, and you can keep going. So it baits cards, it pushes for more, and then essentially it's just such a good card on its own. So that's why it's consistency. I really like playing the 1 Foolish Burial. Now this next portion over here is the reason why we're playing 60 cards, and it's going to make a lot of sense once you guys see it, but I think this is the best way to play this deck. Now a lot of people will play 60 cards and play breakers like Forbidden Droplets, Triple Tactics Talent, etc, etc. However, I chose to go a little bit of a different route, and I think this route is actually perfect, and I'll explain it to you guys in a second here. So the route that I actually chose to go was, of course you're playing the one called Buy, but I am actually also playing 3 Crossout Designator. Now Crossout is a card in Hero that you don't see very often, but I think it makes a lot of sense. In a format like today's format where hand traps are roaming around everywhere, Crossout Designator does so much for you. Now, while in other decks, Crossout can hit some of the main deck core stuff, I doubt you're going to be playing that many hero mirror matches. So Crossout is very actually important for stopping your opponent from using hand traps against you so that you can continue to combo. I find that a lot of hero players will play board breakers instead of this, especially in 60 card builds. I wouldn't play this in a 40 card build, but in a 60 card build, I like playing it because what ends up happening is a lot of the time they'll just kind of hope that they can combo, and if their combo gets stopped, they're also just going to hope that a Forbidden Droplet is going to be enough, right? And I don't like that. I don't like playing those kind of risky games. I like being a little bit more confident with my plays, and Crossout Designator lets you do that, right? So with Crossout Designator, of course, we are going to be playing hand traps. We're playing 3 Mulcharmy Fualos. Now this card absolutely kills the deck, which is why you need to be playing Fualos. One, because if you end up going second because you lose a die roll or something, Fualos is just absolutely insane if you draw this card, right? This is one of the best cards in today's format. But if you are going first, Fualos is very important because being able to cross out your opponent's Fualos is going to be very relevant in the format, right? Because you cannot play around Fualos, unfortunately. Unlike other hand traps where you can kind of push through them, if your opponent activates Fualos, there's never really any good half boards that you can make with this deck. So that's why I personally want to play the crossout with the Fualos. Another thing you can do though, if you guys don't have access to Fualos, because I understand this is a more expensive card, you guys can actually just play Plasma plus 2 other hand traps, okay? And the reason I say that is because Plasma, is funny enough, is the one card where if your opponent does have Fualos, you can actually kind of make a half board with Plasma, and that's pretty good. But yeah, if you guys don't have access to Fualos, don't worry. I understand that this is a very expensive card, and if you guys don't have access to it, just play 1 Plasma here and then 2 other hand traps, okay? And the reason you can play 2 hand traps instead of 3 in this is because those 2 hand traps can be just cross out fodder, right? And I'll talk about what those 2 hand traps can be once we get through the rest of the lineup here. But we are playing 3 Imperm. Now, Imperm is the only other hand trap I'm playing 3 of because this is good going first and going second. If you draw as your 6th card, if you draw as your top first 5, it doesn't matter. This card is absolutely insane. So that's why we're playing 3 Imperm. We're also playing 3 Charmies because we want to see this card if we're going second. However, with the other hand traps, if you see them, you see them. If not, it's all good. So the other hand traps, we are playing 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Nibiru, 2 Droll and Lockbird. With this lineup over here, you guys get a little bit of coverage for everything, which is really nice. I think these are some of the most popular hand traps in today's format. And again, the really cool thing about this lineup over here that you guys are looking at, that in the future, let's say you're watching this deck profile in 6 months and the hand trap lineups that are relevant is different. Let's say Bell is very relevant. Let's say there are, Ghost Ogre is relevant. Ghost Ogre is actually pretty relevant right now. I was actually going to say, if you don't have these, you can play Plasma and 2 Ghost Ogre here, and that's pretty good, but Ghost Ogre is relevant. So whatever hand traps are relevant in the format, you just kind of swap them out. If Droll is not relevant anymore, you take these out and you play the 2 hand traps that are, which is very nice, right? Lastly, we are playing 2 Triple Tactics Talent. You play a lot on your opponent's turn, and this card is very relevant as well, so it's a nice crossout target for you, right? So that's why we're playing TTT with Crossout Designator. So this lineup over here does a few things for me. First of all, you're playing 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 plus 6, so 16 different hand traps that you guys are playing in this deck that you guys can draw and stop your opponent from playing, right? I mean, Talent isn't really a hand trap, but it's just a very powerful card. And then if you're not drawing these 16 cards, the Crossout Designator is using these to protect you from all of your combos. And like I said earlier, Charmies can be replaced. Otherwise, though, these are very important to be playing. So moving on to the extra deck over here, guys, we are playing, of course, the one evil hero, Neos Lord. Shout out the playmat over here. This card is absolutely insane. It's a card that you can summon off of Super Polymerization on your opponent's turn once you do the setup with your Infernal Rider. So Neos Lord is really good in that sense. If this card is special summoned or a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard while this card is on the field, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and take control of it. So you can Snatch Seal with this, which is absolutely insane. So the really cool thing about this card, and the reason why I like playing it, is because let's say your opponent does some combos, you go Super Polymerization, you use your Neos or any fusion monster that mentions it, plus you use your opponent's monster, right? So that's already one disruption. And then let's say they have a second monster on the board or they continue their plays, you can use Neos Lord to then take control of that monster, and then now they're essentially down 2 bodies. So Neos Lord is a very, very powerful card. These are kind of, the rest of the evil hero stuff is kind of like bridges. So Backfire is a bridge for you. This can get to your Dark Supremacy, which is very nice. You're playing the one Darkest Night. Of course, this card is a card that you can cut. I have seen people cut it, but I think it's just way too important. So that's why I really like playing the one Darkest Night. One Malicious Bane. Malicious Bane is also very good for going second, just regicking your opponent's board, and then pushing for game is very nice. Now for the elemental heroes, we were playing the one Wake Up, the one Shining Neo Swingman, the one Sunrise, and the one Infernal Rage. This is pretty standard in all the hero builds that you guys are going to see. Infernal Rage is also really nice because it gets into your favorite contact, which is really nice. Then we are playing the one Darklaw. Of course, Darklaw is still a card that you guys can make with the mass change, so I like playing the one Darklaw. One DPE and one Dystopia. DPE, of course, is very important. A lot of your end boards are going to be ending on your DPE, so DPE is really nice here. Dystopia is another card that you guys can cut, but I personally really like it. It's good into time, which is really nice. And on top of that, with your Fusion Destiny, I like having another card that you can go into that's not DPE. So Dystopia is very nice in that sense. Then we are playing the one Cross Crusader, the one Infernal Devicer, and the one Wonder Driver. You need to be playing these. Fun fact, by the way, when you're doing your combos, and I'll show you this in the combo portion, but you go from Extra Hero Cross Crusader to Infernal Devicer to Wonder Driver. This is kind of the way you make them in order, and you always want to end on this guy because you're going to be able to get your Polymerization, your Miracle Fusion back with this, and then on your opponent's turn, you can summon another card to here, and then what'll happen is that you can activate this again to set another card for follow-up, which is really nice. And then lastly, we're around playing the one Baguska. If all else fails and you don't want to push for too much, or your opponent has too many hand traps, or your opponent has follows and you don't have Crossout, you just make Baguska and you try to hope that's enough with some of your hand traps that you have in hand. So that's it for the extra deck, guys. 15 cards. I really like this extra deck. It's very, very powerful. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. That concludes our very first video for GX month of 2025. Hero is a deck that I'm always excited to showcase to you guys, especially the fact that it's evolved to the point where it's the strongest it's ever been. Now I'm also really excited because there is going to be GX themed deck profiles for the rest of the month, and there are some really cool ones that you guys won't see here and there on YouTube. Like, I personally haven't seen them, so I'm very excited to showcase them to you guys. But thank you guys all for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you guys did enjoy this and you guys are excited for the rest of GX month. Thank you guys all, and with that, Spanko signing out. Peace.
Get up, we want you to get on your feet.